Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today, and the learning for this entire week is dedicated by Torah Center Silver Donor Miron Nisim in memory of all those who perished on October 7th and all the fallen soldiers since then who gave their life to protect us and the state of Israel. As well, Breakfast in the Class is dedicated for the speeding complete refuah shlema Eliyahu Shlomo ben Mazal Fortuné, Chana bat Simafega, Haim Rafael ben Farida, and as well Golda bat Paula. The week of Cobra was sponsored by David E. Ash in honor of you and your substantial capacity to do good today and every day. My friends, what a beautiful opportunity to say thank you to Borei Olam on this day, Yom Yerushalayim, for the tremendous gift of Yerushalayim. And I just want to take 1 second to mention on this unbelievable anniversary of the miraculous experience that Am Yisrael had in this war that wound up capturing Yerushalayim and giving us access back to the Kotel HaMa'aravi, our ability to pray at the Western Wall. All of this is what takes place and what is being commemorated on this day. So I just wanted to take 1 minute and mention one idea that I think connects to what I wanted to talk with you guys about today. Al Chachamim tell us that the name Yerushalayim, which is the name of the city, okay, it appears to be an amalgam of two words. Yireh Shalem. Yireh Shalem means shall be seen, Shalem to be full, complete. Okay? Yerushalayim, Ki'ir shechubera la yachdav, a city that was connected yachdav, together. And it's an interesting idea. What is this connection? The rabbis say that Yerushalayim, as opposed to Yerushalem, that idea, it sounds, you're able to hear the use of two yuds, which means that there's a multiple, like two of them. Like kiflaim means two, right? So anytime you have the yud mem at the end of something, that means that you're having two of that object. So what are these two Yerushalayim that we're experiencing? What is this Ir Shechubera La Yachtav? What's being connected to one? What's being connected to what? The Chachamim tell us a very deep principle. There's something called Yerushalayim Shel Mata and something called Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala. In fact, there's a sefer written called Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala. But either way, Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala means it refers to a fact that there's a Beit HaMikdash here on earth, there's a Jerusalem here on earth, and there's a mirror image of Jerusalem, of the Beit HaMikdash, also in Shamayim. So much so that the Chachamim tell us that when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and Titus ransacks the Beit HaMikdash, Nebuzaradan, ransacks the Beit HaMikdash during the time of Nebuchadnezzar, the Navi says, you think you destroyed the Beit HaMikdash? Kechi rechaim, v'tahani kemach. Take a mill and grind. Take the millstone and grind flour. So the Chachamim asked, what is the Navi talking about? That's not what you use a millstone for. You don't grind flour. Always reminded me of this expression. Also, the Gemara says it in Masechet Gittin. Same concept. Always reminded me of when we were kids. You tell a guy, say roast 10 times. Go. Roast, roast, roast. What do you put in a toaster? No, you put bread in a toaster. Yeah, he said toast after. No, he said toast. He said, that's the item. That's the item, right? You sketch the guy into saying toast. No one puts toast in a toaster. It's already toasted. You put bread in a toaster. Says the pasuk, Kechi rechaim tachani kemach. Take a millstone and grind flour. Who grinds flour? The whole point of the millstone is to get flour. What did you grind? Wheat. So why does it say Kechi rechaim tachani kemach? Says the Gemara something astounding. Rasha, he says. You think you destroyed the Beit HaMikdash? You ground flour that was already ground. If not for the fact, Hashem says, that I already destroyed the Beit HaMikdash in Shamayim, that it was just a mere shell of its existence, you could never have touched the walls of the Beit HaMikdash. So, my friends, this Yerushalayim Shel Mala indicates that there's a heavenly city that exists in the Shamayim, a mirror image of this city in all of its spiritual glory. And when it's time, unfortunately, for it to be destroyed, it's destroyed in Shamayim, and then what happens down here on earth, it's also easily overtaken. Jerusalem was captured over 37 times in conquests. Fascinating bit of history. Back and forth. It was conquered by Saladin. It was conquered by Richard the Lionhearted. It was conquered by the Christians, by the Muslims, by the Ottomans. The Ottomans were also at the time, they were also Muslims, right? It's just wild what's going on, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Why? Because when Yerushalayim is not chubera la yachdav, when it's not connected to its source of power, then the city was very easy to be able to take over. There was no protection for that city. My friends, but like it says as well, ki be'esh husata, because with fire did you destroy it, was it burned? Ube'esh ata atid libnota, and you're going to also rebuild it with fire. Chazal tell us, what does it mean that Hashem will rebuild it with fire? That the third Beit HaMikdash will be built in fire in Shamayim, and it will descend from on high. It doesn't necessarily mean that we won't also rebuild it here in a physical manner, but that its essence, its idea is being built in Shamayim. To me, it just underscored this powerful concept that we are in many ways building an opportunity, building a Jerusalem in the heavens with our Torah, with our mitzvot, that ultimately will allow us what we once did so miraculously, was when HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided there's a Jerusalem on high, and we were able to institute it down here on earth. Hashem should bless us that we should be zocheh with our actions to be able to institute this on high yet again. And how do we do such a thing? How do we build this? Because I would like to say that I don't think that it's something which is unique to Yerushalayim, this concept. Let me explain what I mean. Please only answer amen if you're listening to this live. Baruch atah Adonai. This coffee tastes delicious. Finally, we've been waiting. You know, it says the Jews, when they would go to Yerushalayim, what was that called? And they would all go up to Jerusalem. It's called Aliyat Regel, when they would go up. So Baruch Hashem, we had Aliyat Regel, healing of the leg, to welcome back Emmanuel Zara to our midst. It makes the coffee taste all that more special when it's made for you. It's great to see you. You should have seen in the Shaharit when Emmanuel was walking in. He was walking around getting hugs like he just won the Olympics. Right? It was very, very special. We're so glad to have you back with us. It's a very special day for many reasons. Yom Yerushalayim, Emmanuel Zara coming back to shul, my father's birthday. I don't know how we're going to top this day. I don't know what's going to be. Maybe if I get a discount in the restaurant later today. I don't know, maybe that'll be the cherry on the cake. All right, fine. My friends. All right, I hope the restaurant owner is a listener of Breakfast on the Class. All right, so I wanted to share. I don't think that this idea is limited to Yerushalayim. Let me explain what I mean. Everything in this world has a parallel in Shamayim. The Vilna Gaon says that when a person in this world lives his life, they do their mitzvot and their averot, they create a heavenly image of themselves. If you will, a life force of themselves. So much so, says the Vilna Gaon, that when a tzaddik would see a person, what would they see when they looked at this person? They would see the heavenly image of their life force. And that's how the great Chachamim were able to tell people what their tikkun was in this world, because they could literally look at the person and they see the guy's missing a finger. He's missing an arm. He's missing a leg. There's something going on with this guy. What does that mean? What does that communicate? The Gemara says Evarav shel Adam, the limbs of a person, me'idim alav, they say witness, they bear witness against him or for him in Shamayim, in the heavenly court. What does it mean that his arms, his legs bear witness? What does that mean? It means that al pi the mystical sources, according to Kabbalah, every one of the mitzvot, the 248 mitzvot, which represent the 248 body parts, and the 365 mitzvot, lo ta'aseh, the negative commandments, which represent the sinews and the veins and the other elements of the body, if a person did not do a certain mitzvah, or if he did a certain mitzvah, it would appear and would light up, it would shine in the heavenly version of that person, okay? My friends, according to this, we understand what it means, Evarav shel Adam idim alav. The guy shows up in the heavenly court, you take one look at him, you know exactly which mitzvot he's not doing, or which ones he is. Because in a certain sense, my friends, the keeping of Torah and mitzvot achieves a certain shlemut, a perfection, a wholeness of the person. And therefore, when a person is living life that way, what happens? Etz chaim hi lemachazikim ba. When you're holding on to the Torah with all your might, you bring a life force and energy, a power to your spiritual self, to your soul, and that brings a person this experience of feeling incredibly alive. I don't know if you've ever felt this before, but there's times when you just feel, depleted. And it's not about sleep. It's not about how much rest you had or how much stress you had. There's times when you're exhausted, but you feel like a lion. What does that represent? What does that connote? It describes this exact experience. So my friends, I want to share with you a powerful idea based on this. The Chachamim ask, why is it that we read Bamidbar before Shavuot? How come we read this parasha always the week before Shavuot? We have this amazing holiday coming towards us. I don't know where everyone is going to be. Everyone will be in different places. Shavuot, I'm going to be here in the Beit Knesset with our rabbis. We're going to have an all-night tikkun reading, but also all-night speeches. Be'ezat Hashem, we're going to have an unbelievable opportunity to be able to study here together. And it's an unbelievable thing to come to the Beit Knesset and see at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, hundreds of people here studying Torah. It's the most beautiful thing ever. My friends, before Shavuot, we read Parashat Bamidbar. The Chachamim ask why. Why do we read Parashat Bamidbar? Said the Chachamim something unbelievable. Who is zocheh to be able to experience a Kabbalat Torah? Who is a person that's able to study, that's able to receive Torah? Many people study Torah. Just because you studied it doesn't mean you received it. And if you ever had a doubt, go ask any kid who's in school when they cram for a test. Ask them the morning after they crammed all night. They crammed for 4 days. They took Concerta and Ritalin pills. A day later, you tell them, listen, we've got together, we decided we're going to postpone your exam 2 months. They're all paratzuf echa. Forget about it. They're going majnun. They're going, why? Not one of those people will remember it in 2 months. Why? That's the difference between studying for an exam and learning something so you receive it. So you have what's called a kinyan in Torah. There's a Mishnah in Masechet Avot that I went through with the ladies every Tuesday. The Mishnah says, Mem Chet Devarim, there's 48 ways, Shehat Torah niknet bahem. The Torah is acquired. The acquisition of Torah is not the same as the learning of it. How do you learn about Torah and mitzvot? How do you take these messages and have them become truly a part of who you are? I'll share with you a powerful experience, powerful expression that we mentioned this past Shabbat. The pasuk says, "Im bechukotai telechu," if you follow in my statutes. As we mentioned back then, what does it mean to follow in my statutes, in my hukim? Says Rashi, Shetiyu amelim b'Torah, you should study the Torah in depth. Said the Baal HaTanya, why is it that you're expressing keeping Torah in the language of Bechukotai, in the expression, the language of Chukim? The Torah is made up of Chukim, Mishpatim, Eduyot, Torot. Why do we use that language, Chukim? And he says something unbelievable. Chukah could mean, of course, a mitzvah that has no reason or that we don't do for the reason. But a chok could also come from the word, from the language, chakika. What does chakika mean? Chakuk means engraved. What's the difference, says the Baal HaTanya, between writing on the luchot or engraving the luchot? He says when you write something, even if the ink is on the parchment, you could take a knife or a razor and scratch the ink off the parchment. The ink and the parchment are not one item. When you engrave in stone, the engraving, the writing, and the material is one thing. The words and that which you write it upon, there's no difference between them. They cannot be separated because they are of the same material. I went one step further than the Baal HaTanya in this idea of chakika, and why bechukotai is the expression of learning Torah. How does the person achieve chok? When you write on the parchment, you write literally on it. But it is impossible to engrave something without scratching off a layer of the material you're writing upon. So the writing requires a removal of self, a engraving, a digging deep into the person's habits, their nature, in order to be able to have that writing penetrate who I am. It doesn't sit on me, but it's within me. It's a chelek of me. The rabbis explain the reason why we read Bamidbar before we enter into Shavuot is because just as in the desert, everything is hefker. Everything is ownerless. Nobody owns a place in the desert, right? The desert, you have miles and miles of sand. No, nothing's there. If you find a tree in the desert, it wasn't planted by the JNF, right? That tree is probably made out of plastic, right? Because it couldn't survive. You see something on the ground, everything is hefker. Even if it was lost there, the owner gives up hope. Nothing in the desert is owned by anybody. So too, a person who wants to acquire Torah, we're heading towards Shavuot. What do you need to do? You need to live a life where everything around you is hefker. What are we being taught here? Oh, I have to divest myself. I have to do BDS of myself. I have to get rid of every investment. I'm not allowed to have a bank account. I'm not allowed to have a house or a car. A person whose life is not, everything in their life is not hefker, that person is not acquired Torah. So my friends, I want to share what I think this teaching is communicating, especially with regards to chakika. My friends, we started by talking about the heavenly version of physical objects. There's a Yerushalayim, turns out, Shel Mala. There's a Jerusalem city. And whether Jerusalem lives or dies, rises or falls, what does it rely on? It relies on the health, the stability, the strength of Yerushalayim Shel Mala. But that's not only true about Jerusalem, it's true, as we said, about each and every person. In fact, one of the most beautiful ideas I ever heard is that when it says in the Torah, Avraham, Avraham, what is God saying in that moment when he calls to Avraham in the Akedah? Moshe, Moshe. God is calling to the Moshe in Shamayim and the Moshe on earth, and God is saying that those two things in this moment are synonymous. They're exactly the same. The spiritual version of Avraham and the physical manifestation, the body of Avraham, there's no difference between the two. You've managed to conquer the physical, spiritual divide. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who's going to listen to this, I want to really drive this home on what hefker means. Ask yourself this question. What am I here on earth to do? What am I here on earth to fulfill? If the answer to that question is a house or a car or an investment, you've missed the boat completely. Do you know why? Very simple. Super simple. What is Hevel Havalim? What does it mean? Hevel Havalim. Our world is nothingness. What does that mean? Hevel Havalim means that just like when a person breathes out a breath in the cold air and you see crystallized that little puff of smoke that kind of lingers in the air and then just dissipates, that, my friends, is a human being's life on this planet. I want you to understand one thing. God was here forever, and God will be here forever. There is an eternity that is God. Human beings live for the briefest split second in history. The minute you're born until the minute you die, based on, as compared to the vastness of time, my friends, it's nothing. Just try and do the math for 1 second. Imagine a person lives Be'ezat Hashem 100 years. It's a good life, a long life. How much, what percentage of 1,000,000 years is 100? Huh? 0.1. 0.0001. Machloket HaPoskim. I think it depends. Sorry? He said 0.1. He said 0.0001. My friends, I think the difference is who's your bookkeeper. Either way, look at this with me objectively. 0.0001, like that, whatever the number is. How much is 100, okay? How much is 100 in a billion? How much is 100 in a trillion? All you need to do is add more and more and more and more and more and more and more. I remember once I was learning with the rabbi, and the rabbi said, imagine you take a handful of sand, and each grain in your palm of your hand represents 1 billion years. Imagine how many that is. Now he says, imagine you don't have a handful of sand. Imagine, he says, you get a tractor, you pick up sand from the beach, you fill up your whole house, floor to ceiling, all sand. Every grain of sand, 1 billion years. You still haven't scratched the surface. Imagine you fill the whole world with sand, and every grain of sand is 1 billion years. You still have not touched what it means that God is eternal. That is an infinite number of years, forward and back. What is your 100 years? It's not a grain of sand. It's not a grain. It's not a half a grain. It's nothing. My friends, super simple. Let's do the math. Ready? You drive into a gas station. I had this on only 2 days ago. I went into an airport. In the airport, there's an alternate universe. An alternate universe is called Hudson News. In this alternate universe, you could pick up a bag of almonds and go to checkout. Thank God it was self-checkout, so I didn't have to embarrass myself. $18.29, bag like this almonds. My wife said, "You're not buying that." I said, "You know, so I could handle the $6 for a bottle of water, you know, but $18.29 for some almonds, I'm not handling that." So in this alternate universe, you could charge whatever you want. I want to ask you a question, simple question. Imagine you pulled off the shelf in this Hudson newsstand, okay? You pull off, there's a, what's it called? There's a bag, little bag of licorice. Anyway, you come to the counter and you scan it, and it's even more than the nuts. How much is it in the alternate universe? $500,000. Anyone here is going to buy the licorice? No, nobody. Even Elon Musk won't buy the licorice, right? Why? Because in 2 seconds, I'm going home. I'll leave this airport. I'll walk outside. Right outside, there's another. It's $1. You have to be Majnun for this temporary, little tiny space of time and space called the Hudson newsstand, right? That I'm going to suspend all our Chachamim are communicating to us. It's not that your house has to be hefker. It's not that you're not allowed to have any money. But when a person wants to acquire Torah and the value system of Torah, everything in your life becomes hefker. It becomes unimportant. It becomes, someone tells you, listen, there's a guy right over there, lovely guy, he's a billionaire. If you kill him, you can take all his money. Anyone here gonna kill the guy and take billions? Any murderers? How about if I made it $1 trillion? Go kill the guy. He's worth it. You see the guy, go kill him. There's no money that you would kill the guy for. My friends, we've managed on some level to understand that money becomes hefker with regards or as compared to doing something that's beyond our red line. The job of acquiring Torah is to understand that it's not only murder that's a red line. How about not being honest? There should be in a person's life this idea, it doesn't matter if it's $1 billion, $1 trillion, I'm not killing anybody. I'm going to stab the guy. I'm also not going to rip the guy. I'm not going to lie to the guy. I'm not going to do that. The same thing will be true when a person learns, when it comes to any other mitzvah. As a person learns, grows slowly but surely, in a healthy way, they take on one tiny step at a time. As they grow, their red lines start to proliferate. And they start to realize that this place that I would like to be in as a human being, the type of person I would like to be, there's nothing that's worth compromising my values, my integrity, my personality, okay? There's nothing that's worth getting angry over. Whatever it is, it's okay. I'll bounce back. I'll be able to do it again. I'll figure it out. It's going to be okay. Says the Torah, if there's anything in this world that you won't give up for, you know what you've said? You've placed the value of a thing above the value of self. That's the message. So I want to ask you, that you, the one in heaven, that personality, that integrity, that authenticity, that Talmid Chacham, that Tzaddik, that you're investing in, that is your retirement plan. You're going to be that guy forever. So spend all your money now on licorice. And by the way, there's no difference between licorice and a red Ferrari. That's why they call it candy red. Okay, you understand? You bought some licorice over here. What's the difference? I always crack up. The other day, there was a guy, God bless him, in the parade. He's driving a silver Lamborghini. Okay. There's 30,000 people in front of him in the parade, 15,000 people behind him. 1 mile an hour. But he has Lamborghini, right? I was like, slow clap for the guy that can only go slow. Right? You look at, we spend all this money for what? For a temporary self that in the scheme of things is going to be over in a second. And who did you take that money from? Where did you take that money? Where'd you take that time? Where'd you take it from? You took it from a you that's going to exist forever. Imagine pickpocketing yourself. That, my friends, is what we're learning about this Bamidbar. You know who acquires Torah? A person who can make the things in this world, the physical objects of this world, it's all hefker. It doesn't really matter. I sometimes, sorry if I'm going to say something here, Michila, I sometimes wonder, only sometimes, go to a wedding, and the wedding was $2 million, and there's flowers, Ishtabach Shemo, on the ceiling, climbing the ceiling, around the ceiling, outside the hotel. They paved the floor with flowers, the street. I don't know.
Nobody wants to be there.
You know what the funny thing? It's not even about, I always just wonder one thing. Imagine if instead of doing that, you took your children and you said to them, listen, I could spend $2 million, I could spend $1 million, I could spend 500,000, whatever the number is, on you. Or we could cut a little bit of the flowers that I'm going to order. There'll be a few flowers less. Instead of 74-piece band, there'll be 62-piece band, if that's okay with you, right? Instead of, it's amazing, it's just amazing. Instead of, you'll get this, and I'll buy you a home. I'll put a down payment down. What makes more sense? We are training ourselves, our community, our children, to invest in something which is over by tomorrow. Any. If the wedding is over, it's already 12:30, and you walk around, and at every food station, they're still full. What are they doing with all the lamb chops and all the akil? They can't even, it's going to get thrown in the garbage. I'm so happy, by the way, you worked very hard all those years in the office, every day, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm very glad you bought all of these lamb chops that we're now going to put in a garbage bag and throw outside. All these flowers that are now dead, that we're going to throw in the garbage. Do you understand? Now, again, I don't begrudge anybody. They get ruined. I don't begrudge anybody. Have a beautiful event. Enjoy. You have it. Spend it. It's beautiful to celebrate a simcha. I love it. But there's gotta be some boundary.
No, the marriage won't be as good.
There's gotta be some boundary, my friends. Again, I'm gonna say another controversial thing. Mechila, I'm gonna say another controversial thing. Just because I have the microphone and no one can stop me. My friends, you have children. These cases happen all the time. You have 4 sons. They're all doing very well in the business. They're doing very well in their own businesses. Fantastic. Everything's going great for them. Everything's going great for their families. And you have 3 daughters. And Hazit, the guy he can't figure out how to make rent. And everything is left to those children, to the boys. And what happens to your daughter? And they're struggling. And understand this. I'm from the old school. This is how we do it. They take care of them. Yeah, okay, all the excuses. But they didn't take care of them. Someone said to me, Rabbi, doesn't it say in the Torah that the inheritance goes to the sons, and only when there's no sons it goes? I said, yes. That's when it was talking about land in Israel. So your daughter didn't need a piece of land. You know why? Because her husband had a piece of land from his inheritance. Okay, so you got divided your father's inheritance because you're the boys. You're not getting a piece of land from your wife. Your wife, on the other hand, they didn't have, so therefore that's why it went that way. But just think for 1 second. I'm not even talking about, so you don't want to do it in your will because you want to follow, give it to her before you die. How could you abandon your daughters? I don't understand. Mechila, I don't understand. When we think about these things, what happens? What's going to happen? 1,000%. The family will be torn apart. You worked your whole life to build a family. And then you could know that when you die, they're all going to break apart. And what will it be over? The money you left and how you left it. Think of the future. Make sure you're doing these things in a way where long-term plans trump short-term feelings. Well, if my wedding's not as fancy as him, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? People are going to start talking about how my business is failing. You know what? You know how long they're going to talk about that for? 1 minute. No one's going to care. By tomorrow morning, everyone forgot about it. There's 17 more weddings. How silly are we being when you're choosing where your kids go to school? What the child's going to come out like? I have this conversation a lot of times. They're like, listen, it's a little bit more of a hassle to take the kid to the other school. I don't like this school. I don't like that school. It's not the right school for us. Not the right school for our ashkafa. But I'm going to go here. Look, it's more convenient. This is the forever, not only of your child, but of your family name. Your forever. Everything you invested, everything you built, what was it for? It was for this future. You're going to throw it away because of the hassle of driving an extra 20 minutes. I can tell you one thing. I got on a bus every single day of my life. From the time I was 5 years old. My parents sent me to Lakewood because at the time there wasn't a religious school for rabbis' kids in Deal. There wasn't a separate school. There wasn't one that was every day. Did I like it as a kid? No. I was not happy about it. But you know what? Did it matter? No. Did I grow up someone who studied Torah, who already knew how to learn Gemara, who already understood the value of Midot, of Ma'asim? Yes. That was the price you paid. That's what you got. Sacrifice for the future. You want to acquire Torah, you sacrifice. Now Nathan's saying something genius. You could look at it as a sacrifice, or you could look at it as an investment. If this world is hefker, then you invested in the eternal you. And if you didn't do that, what'd you do? You had fun for 5 minutes, and forever you're left with the regrets of the fact that you did not prepare for forever. Hashem should bless us to have our eyes open, to always be able to see into the future a little bit, to always be able to see what's coming, to never be making decisions on the snap, on the feeling, always with intention, always with foresight. Ezehu chacham haro'eh et ha'nolad. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.